Hey, week 6, Wall Street. Tony, how we doing tonight?
Good, what's going on, Kyle?
Lots of stuff, but I'm excited about this show because I saw your list and it's got me pumped. I'm not going to lie.
I'm not sure who's got you pumped there, but I'm glad you're pumped about it.
There's several. Like there's been some movement in the lists and it's intriguing, so I'm excited.
Yes, definitely.
Got Albert over here in the chat. What's up, my dude? All right, let's go ahead and jump in here. We'll get through as many of these as we can. Why did that blow up so big? Nah, come on now. There we go. Blew up bigger than I wanted there for a second. We'll get through some of these before the questions start rolling in because you know they're coming. All right. Let's talk about this week's waiver wire darling, Kenneth Walker. Let's start with him.
Man, I was fortunate enough to get him in one league, but this guy, we talked about him on Monday night in Panic Room. I told you I was going to bring him up this evening. I know it's probably too late, although I do have one league where waivers process Thursday morning or early Thursday morning, so around 3 o'clock Eastern time. Those will be processed in one of my leagues. Unfortunately, Kenneth Walker is not available. He's taken in that league. But it's very unusual at this point in the season. We're talking about week 6, where we can have a guy on waivers who can immediately be an RB1 rest of season. I'm not talking about an Alexander Madison or a Pollard, or even like a Rashad White who can come in and for a 1, 2, 3 game spell while the starter is injured, be an RB1 for you on a streaming basis. We're talking about a guy in Kenneth Walker who can be an RB1 rest of season. Once Penny went down in week 5, this guy played 88, 12% short of 100% of the snaps in Seattle. He has an RB1 upside in this offense. The only thing we need to see with Walker is I'd like to see him get involved in that passing game. But this is a guy, if he's on waivers, if you do fab, if you need a running back, to me, he's a 100% type guy.
He was available in 2 of my leagues, and I only got him in 1.
Yeah, you're fortunate that you got him in 1.
I was waiver 10 out of 10 in the other, and that just didn't happen.
That wasn't going to happen.
I was maybe nobody watched football this weekend. Of course, every website you go to has a waiver article, so it's like, well.
It was funny because so I'm in one league where we have a $250 fab. I hadn't used any of it this year. I put 202 on Walker, and then I put 48 on Taysom Hill. So shows you where my money went on this season. I spent it on those 2 players, and Taysom Hill's on our list tonight as well.
You're like, give me everything now.
And that's only because my other tight end is Pitts, and I needed another. Really needed a starting tight end, a guy with the type of upside that Taysom has. So if I didn't need a tight end, I would have put all 100% on Kenneth Walker. Fortunately, the 202 was enough to get him.
That's good. What was the next lowest bid on Walker?
150.
How much did you win the Walker bid by?
150 was the next highest bid.
So you could have saved a little money, but
I'd rather
safe than sorry, right?
Secure it. Yeah, I mean 202 is fine. Right. I was concerned I wasn't going to get him because I thought somebody for sure would go all in on Kenneth Walker. In that league, I had Javonte Williams, so this is kind of an answered prayer for me.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Let's see, we got Wright over here in the chat. What's up?
What's up, Wright?
Anton hanging out with us. We got a couple of questions already. Let's get through a few more. Let's see, Derryberry's over here. What's up, my dude? Let's go ahead and get through a few more players, and then we'll hit some questions. I know you mentioned Taysom Hill, so let's go ahead and. Obviously, he's a buy because you just spent all your fab money that was left on him.
He is a buy. It's funny because he was picked up on waivers a couple of weeks ago when he had that little bit of a breakout, and then everybody dropped him after the following week.
Guilty.
So he's available on a ton of waivers, and obviously we cannot expect a 40-plus game games from this guy every week. However, the coaching staff following this game is wanting to get Taysom more and more involved with the carries. They see, obviously, it's hard not to see the potential he brings. He is one of the few playmakers on this roster, with a Kamara. So certainly we see Olave emerging, but this guy just brought a spark to the offense. And if they're looking to get him more and more involved, he's already stealing some of those goal line carries at the tight end position. There aren't many guys who give you this type of upside on a weekly basis. Now, I would also expect him to have probably a couple of bust weeks, but this guy can single-handedly win you a week. So for me, if I can, I want that on my roster.
Yeah.
This isn't. It's the involvement in the offense is not a fluke. The 40+ points is. I don't know that we can expect that again this year, but again,
right. I mean, honestly,
you swing an upside on him.
Yeah, I mean, even if he is inconsistent, I feel like the tight end position this year is such a train wreck.
It is.
Outside of Andrews and Kelsey, like it's an absolute train wreck. So, why not take a shot on somebody like this for sure?
Well, and if you punted on, I don't even say punted on tight end, but if you were like me, if you grabbed Pitts, thinking that this was going to potentially be Pitt's breakout, or if you punted and maybe you wanted the guy like Cole Kmet, I know a lot of guys did that.
That one hurts. I had a lot of faith in Cole Kmet. That one hurts.
Yeah, a lot of people did that. That was their sneaky, tight end in the draft is wait till the later rounds and grab a Cole Kmet, even a Freiermuth. Taysom Hill is a guy I'd much rather have over guys like that.
Let's see. Speaking of train wrecks, though, here's a guy I'm intrigued to hear what you got to say. George Kittle.
You're surprised to see where I got him on the list tonight, huh?
I was. You even sent me the list. You put an exclamation mark after.
I know. I knew that.
You knew I'd see that.
You would see that. Yeah. Here's the thing with Kittle is this is probably, if you're going to buy him, this is the time to do it. He has each week he has gotten more and more involved in the offense in terms of his snap share, his routes, and his targets. This past week he had 18% of the target share. And here's kind of the thing with me now on Kittle is he has the third easiest schedule for tight ends. So I'm not necessarily selling the farm to get Kittle, but this is absolutely an opportunity to buy low on him.
Well, and like we just said, tight end position's rough this year, so take a shot on somebody we know has talent. He could blow up at any time, so
he's just got to stay healthy. So you're gambling a little bit on the health.
Yeah.
But he's now played three consecutive games. Seems to be getting healthier, getting more involved in the offense. We know that he does have a connection with Garoppolo, and I can't help but notice that schedule. Third easiest schedule at the tight end position. I like that. So if you can buy him, you could probably get him fairly, at a fairly good price.
Yeah. Let's see. Jason over here. What's up, Jason? Should I trade Cook, Pierce, Wilson, Pickens for Mixon, Kamara, and Deontay?
That's a big trade.
It is. And I'm assuming that's Damian Pierce, not Alec Pierce.
Yeah, you're giving three running backs. Can you afford to lose to depth? I know we're going to get Elijah Mitchell back here. I don't hate that trade. I do. Deontay's on my list tonight, so I do like Deontay. I do like Deontay over Pickens. What are your thoughts on Deontay and Pickens?
I still like Deontay over Pickens. I know you can tell Pickett has a connection with Pickens, but Deontay's still, I think, the superior talent.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing with Deontay. Maybe we can pull him out because then we'll go back to the trade here, Jason. Here's the key with Deontay. While Pickens definitely seems to be emerging as the deep threat in this offense, Deontay still owns a target share. He's had
Yeah.
double-digit targets in 4 out of 5 games this year. And I just like I want that. Like I said, like I've been saying all along for the past several weeks, and every time we talk about Wall Street, volume is king. That's
Yeah.
number one on your list. When you're looking at players, volume is the first thing you look at, and the volume is there. So I like getting, I've got him on my hold list for Wall Street, but I like kind of adding him to that roster. And if you were going to trade Cook, this is probably the time to do it. We do see his utilization decreasing a little bit. I don't know that it's going to stay that way on the season, but to get Mixon and Kamara, I like it. I like the trade. What do
Yeah.
you think? What are your thoughts?
I agree with everything you just said. Yeah, I would do that trade. And you know how much I love Pierce, but I would
Yeah.
still do that trade.
Yeah, and I mean, I do like Pierce a lot too. I mean, this is a guy who's quietly beginning to emerge as a top end RB2, could come out at some point here as an RB1. Um, so I like Pierce as well. So, but you have to give away something of value to get value pieces back.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I like, I mean, you're getting two guys like Mixon owns this backfield.
Yep.
He has continued to dominate the rushing attempts. He's dominated the routes run. He dominates the target share. Perine pushed him a little bit this past week, but Mixon isn't going anywhere. And the same thing with Kamara. I mean, Kamara's upside is so great in this offense. So um, I like it.
Yep. Me
My,
too.
my only here's my only issue with Kamara, by the way, just because we're talking about him, is going back to Taysom Hill. Taysom is stealing those goal line carries. I just wish that Kamara would get in on those goal line looks.
Yeah, that is unfortunate, but it also will keep him healthier too. So there's a little silver lining in that, but you definitely wish he would get some, or at least some passes on the goal line, if not runs up the middle.
But here's the thing that you love about Kamara: 69% route participation in week 5. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thought I lost you for a second. 69% route
Yeah.
participation for a running back. That's through the roof. That's beyond elite. So
Yeah, and he's also one of those that could take any single one of those to the house too, from anywhere on the field. So
it's just the volume. That volume, the role in the passing game is an elite number for an elite talent.
yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, right. Who to start at my flex? Amari Cooper, ECH, or Duvernay? I'm trying to remember. Cooper plays New England.
Is that ECH or CEH?
ECH. Who's ECH? CEH plays Buffalo. I don't like that. But it's between those two. I'm not playing Duvernay.
I'm not playing Duvernay. I think I'm watching the injury report on Bateman, but Adam Andrews is the number one receiver in Baltimore. So those are not really great options, to be
They're
honest.
really not. I'm leaning Cooper, if I'm being
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. I mean, the nice thing
CEH
with
against
Cooper,
Buffalo is just not good.
yeah, I mean Cooper is getting very, very strong target share in the offense. So if I had to pick one of those guys, I'm probably going with Cooper as well.
Yeah. Albert also used all of his fab on Walker.
Did you get him? I guess you must have. If you
He must have.
so used, it means that you were able to do a good job getting him, Albert.
He also has a lot of shares in Goddard and Njoku. Yeah,
Nice,
they're two of the high points of that tight end position this year for sure.
100%.
All right, we got Jorge with our daily trade questions. Just got offered Hill, Pierce, Cooper for Taylor, London, Hines, and Algier. Gonna pick up Mitchell and place on IR. I don't like that.
You don't like that?
I don't think I'm a fan of that.
What's your issue with it?
I have a hard time giving up Taylor, even though he's flopping. I just don't think that'll continue all year. But London's playing really well. Oh, man. I don't know. It seems steep for Hill and Pierce. I mean, it's close. I don't think it's bad. Like, it's not unfair. I'd rather have Taylor and Drake London. What do you think?
I think he gets good value. I don't know that Cooper is a flex piece, but Tyreek Hill and Dameon Pierce. My only concern with Tyreek, my only hang up with the trade, Jorge, is just the situation with Tua is so unsettled. If Tua were healthy,
If
then
Tua was healthy, it'd be
I
different.
would probably take the trade. I would probably do this. But Tua is not healthy. And we got this rookie quarterback. He's starting this week. I don't know, Bridgewater's in the concussion protocol. So that's my only concern, is that, you're trading for a guy who doesn't really have a quarterback, and quarterback play is going to be huge. So if you're moving Taylor, I would probably shop him to see if you can get a better offer. I don't hate it. So I definitely don't hate it. That's my only concern, is you're moving Jonathan Taylor for Pierce and an elite receiver who's playing with an injured quarterback.
Yeah.
Or whose quarterback is injured, not playing with him because he's not playing. But either way, I think, if you can get Mitchell and place him on IR, that's not a bad thing to do.
Albert wants to know, do things change with Taysom if Winston comes back?
Do things change with who? With Taysom?
Taysom.
I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen, Albert. If you read the coach, press conference afterwards, and if you listen to what's coming out of New Orleans following that game, I think they saw the real potential of a Taysom Hill. I mean, that guy was a game changer this week. So again, can't expect that every week, but they're going to roll this guy in, especially in that that offensive package down in the goal line inside the 5. He's going to get those goal line carries, and it's funny because they always run the RPOs with him, and he keeps. I've never seen him actually hand it to anybody. He keeps it every time and runs the ball.
It's more of an option than an actual.
Yeah. Easy to kind of get sucked into that and seeing the points he put up. As long as you kind of maybe have realistic expectations. But I don't think his role is going to change. I think if anything, we'll see him get more involved.
Yeah. All right. Let's take one more here real quick, then we'll get to some more players.
Yeah, sure.
You think JT will do well this week if he plays? If he plays, I think he will.
Yeah.
Playing Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I just keep an eye on that injury report, though.
I would also try and see what's coming out. Look, watch not just the injury report, but also watch the practice report and just see if he's getting in limited practices or full practices. Because what I'm concerned about is almost like what we saw from Amon-Ra St. Brown on Sunday, where he was active for the game.
Or T. Higgins.
But put him on a pitch count. They said going into the game, Glazer reported 10 minutes before kickoff that Detroit coaching staff was going to limit Amon-Ra St. Brown between 20 to 30 snaps. So I would want to do the same thing with JT before I roll him out there.
Yeah, and T. Higgins, he was active and didn't even get a target. So good times. Definitely keep an eye on that. All right, let's jump over here. I actually
so far,
see.
I'm just looking out. He didn't practice today, so did not practice at all. Not even a limited practice. So I'm watching that.
It's not a. It's not a great sign.
I'm concerned about him on the week.
Yeah. We did have a question with CEH in there, so let's go to him next.
So CEH this week, I've got him on my sell list. I think right now touchdowns are really what's saving him and giving that inflated stat line. But I'm concerned about his utilization, and this touchdown ratio just is not going to continue. So it could be an opportunity to sell high a little bit on CH. We saw McKinnon emerge a little bit in this Monday night game. You probably can find a buyer for CH. A lot of teams hurting at the running back position.
Yeah, not for nothing, but it's kind of what I've been saying about CEH all season. He's doing well, but the efficiency was so high, it was bound to come back to earth.
Yeah,
and it did.
He owned 42% of the rushing attempts, 10% of the targets. So that's not a very good utilization for a starting running back.
No.
It's the touchdown ratio that really is kind of blowing up his stat line, and that is not going to continue. Or I should say, is very unlikely that it continues. And we saw that in Monday night against the Raiders. Without those touchdowns to inflate his fantasy line, he looks very pedestrian. So what's crazy about him is he's become in for fantasy purposes, really a touchdown dependent running back, but he doesn't get all of the goal line looks.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the opposite of what we see from maybe a Damian Harris or some of the
about to say, yeah.
where their goal line, they're touchdown dependent, but at least they get the goal line looks. CEH doesn't get them. Not all of them.
All right. I think we can knock these two out together. Mr. Breece Hall and Michael Carter.
Who?
Breece Hall and Mike Carter.
Yeah, so let's start with Michael Carter. He's a sell high for me after his 2 touchdown game. This running offense is going to belong. It already belongs to Breece Hall, and Breece Hall is going to put a stranglehold on that job here. So this is an opportunity, if you still own Carter, to sell him, kind of sell him high, and at the same time, maybe somebody was watching that, saw Michael Carter vulture those touchdowns and concerned about Breece, and you can buy him low or buy him low. But he owns the offense, 70% of the snap share, just about 55% of the rushing attempts. He's getting the routes run, not necessarily a dominant target share, but 54% routes run. This guy is sort of like a Damian Pierce. He's a high-end RB2 right now, but any week can emerge as an RB1 for fantasy purposes.
Totally agree. Breece Hall is becoming the man. Here's another duo. We have dueling duos tonight.
Who's that?
J-Rob and ETN.
I forgot that I had them on there. So yeah, I think J-Rob for me is a hold. It's funny how quickly people panic. They saw Etienne get involved, but Etienne is mostly involved on these passing downs. I'm not concerned about him stealing J-Rob's job. The other thing with J-Rob is part of the fantasy line was dependent on game script, and they have a great remaining schedule. Jacksonville has a tremendous remaining schedule. So there's a real potential for J-Rob to have positive game scripts, and that's going to be very good for him with the type of running back that he is in this offense. I'm not concerned about Etienne. J-Rob is a hold for me. while Etienne is he's a sell. He's a passing down back, and people seem to be buying him. I just don't see it. I'm selling Etienne right now.
Yeah, we've been selling him for a while.
I mean, he really hadn't.
But now it's the best opportunity to, because he had a big game. It's like we always talk about: wait till he has a big game and then ship him out.
Right. Yeah, I think it's mostly game script related, but Etienne to me still is kind of like, glorified J.D. McKissick type guy. He's going to be the passing down back. He's going to see more and more work if Jacksonville is in a negative game script. I just don't anticipate that being the case based on the remaining schedule. And so I'd rather have J-Rob over Etienne.
All right. Let's hit on our only quarterback on the list with the caveat, or I guess I should say the question: did you see the quote where they're saying Drew Lock is nipping at this guy's heels, Geno Smith?
I've not seen that. I don't even
I
care.
saw that earlier today. I was like, they're joking, right?
I haven't seen it anywhere, and I don't know where that even came from.
He's just playing so well. I can't imagine.
So what's funny is that in our dynasty league, I tried to make a trade last week where I was trying to package Geno Smith to get T-Law. Again, it's dynasty, so I'm thinking, the guy who has Trevor Lawrence also has Deshaun Watson. I think he's 1-4 or 2-3 on the season. So I thought maybe, J-Law had T-Law had a down week, and so maybe I can sneak him, pry him off his team, get him on my roster, and give him up Geno Smith. So he decided he rejected the trade offer. And then I was hurting at the tight end position, so I dropped Geno Smith to get a tight end. I picked up, and of all people, the only guy that was available, because it's a deep dynasty league, was Bates, who was replacing Logan Thomas. And then, of course, I was scrambling to the waivers to try and pick him up this week. I spent a considerable amount of fab just to get him back. And thank God I did that, because I think I outbid the same guy who I offered to him into a trade. I think I outbid him by like $20. So I was able to get him back. Here's the crazy thing, and kind of was looking at some of the stats.
You spent $112 out of our 200, is it 250 or 200?
Yeah, keep in mind that in this dynasty league, my two other quarterbacks are Russell Wilson and Tua. So
yeah,
and of course I had picked up Bridgewater, and Bridgewater got hurt the first play of the first drive. So I needed a starting quarterback. Geno, thank God I got him. I've been kind of doing some research. I always do research for Wall Street. Here's a crazy thing about this offense. It kind of blew me away when I read this. Seattle is the number one offense in the NFL on yards per play on first and second down this year. Their average yards per play for first and second downs is somewhere like 6.9 yards. Buffalo is number 2 at 6.4, and then the next teams after Buffalo are like 6.3, 6.2. So they are head and shoulders even above Buffalo's offense, which just absolutely floored me. I did not expect that.
Oh my goodness.
For me, Geno Smith is a buy. This is not a mirage. This is not one game. This is over 5 weeks that this offense is number one. And even if they kind of come down to earth a little bit more, they're still going to be a top offense. Geno Smith going into the league was quarterback number 11. So he's a buy. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get him and play him over a guy like, Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes, but he is a top 10 quarterback in fantasy. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
The offense looks great. Pete Carroll looks like a genius for moving off of Russell Wilson so that he could start Geno Smith.
Who ever thought that would happen, right?
Well, we saw what happened to the offense last year when Russell went down. It kind of imploded. So
yeah.
I think I expect a lot of us, we all expected it to be more of the same. Never expected this.
Well, ever since they passed on the one, I never thought we'd think he was a genius. Pete Carroll. I never thought we'd think Pete Carroll was a genius. All right. Pratham wants to know, should he start Aaron Jones or T. Higgins for flex? I think that's another one with Higgins. You got to watch those practice reports.
Yeah, I'd rather take the healthy guy. Aaron Jones is just, the thing with Aaron Jones is he's going to give you that boomer bust type potential, where we can see him put up a monster game or
He is playing the Jets too. So
what's that?
Jones. He's also playing against the Jets.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I like Jones. He definitely this last week he owned the backfield. 65% of the rushing attempts, 67% routes run. Those are elite. That's elite utilization. So I'm sticking with Aaron Jones.
Yeah, go with Jones. Is Waddle still a must start this week? I feel like I'm overthinking him, but not sure. If you're not sure, then you're underthinking whether you're overthinking.
I would not call Waddle a must start. I would say you're not crazy for posting this question. And Anton, it has nothing to do with Waddle, has everything to do with the starting quarterback. They've already ruled Bridgewater out. So that number 3 quarterback in Miami, the rookie, is starting this week. Now, could Skylar Thompson be the second coming of Dan Marino? It's possible. I don't think it's likely, but it's possible. That's my concern with Waddle. That's my concern with Tyreek Hill. I don't say that I would not say that either one of them is a must start.
Right.
He's also just real quick on Waddle. He's also been dealing with a groin injury.
Wright says, I have Taysom Hill as a free agent. Is he worth giving up Njoku or Hawkinson or Duvernay for him? Duvernay, easily.
Right, depending on what you're doing at the receiver position, I would definitely, Hawkinson's on a bye this week, and I would definitely think about grabbing Hill. Now, it's not like you're hurting at the tight end position, so if you were to grab Taysom Hill, you might want to think about trading a tight end at that point because you're not going to keep 3 guys.
Let's see. Jorge. Looks like another guy wants Taylor. Has Kelsey, Adams, Chubbs, and Jacobs. He wants Higbee. Do I offer Patterson and Drake? If you're giving JT, Higbee, Patterson, and Drake,
4.
You better be getting Kelsey, Adams, and something else probably. I don't know. I'd probably do that for Kelsey Adams by itself. Let's see if he'll do Jacobs. I think you said he had Hunt, too, when you asked this the other night.
Yeah, I mean, if you do Taylor, Higbee,
and then...
See, here's the thing that gets me, Jorge. You said if Kelsey included. So if Kelsey's included in the trade, does that mean you're getting what other players are you asking what other players you should try to get? Is that the question?
I think he's trying to get Kelsey and Adams. The guy wants Taylor, but if Kelsey's in it, he has to have Higbee. So it's like Kelsey, Adams, for Taylor, Higbee, and then he should have.
Who are Jorge's starting running backs if he gives Taylor?
If he gives Taylor, it would be, I forget, Fournette, and he has another decent one. I can't remember now off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's in another piece, another message down here somewhere.
Corey, can you post the remainder of that question? But if you're giving, who's he giving again? I'm sorry, he's giving Taylor and who? And Higbee?
Taylor, Higbee, and then he's asking if he should include Patterson and Drake.
I don't know that you'd have to include Drake London in it too, but if you're giving Taylor and Higbee and he's giving you Kelsey and Adams, I would run to hit the accept button on that.
Yeah, well, he's sending the offers, and he sent one last night, but he never heard back from the Kelsey guy. We were telling him to get Kelsey and Adams and then package some of these things together. So you'll have to include Patterson and or Drake probably to get Adams in there. Let's see, Jason. This might be a dumb question, but why are running backs more valuable than wide receivers when wide receivers tend to score higher?
Because the pool for top end RB1s is very small, while there's a lot of value at the receiver position. There are very, very few elite RB1s that you can get and plug into your roster that are a weekly go. While again, at that receiver position, it can run 15, 20 players deep. I mean, how many workhorse running backs are there? Bell cow running backs are there right now in the NFL?
4 or 5, maybe
Basically, yeah.
something like that. Yeah, it's not
That's the only
really.
reason.
Drake and Debo worth trading for Cup. I would give that for Cup.
I would.
Okay, right. This is a follow-up to that one asking about Taysom Hill. He says he has Njoku with starting with Cooper due to Hawks bye. Aaron Jones, Walker, wide receiver. I have Hill and Myers. So basically Cooper, Hill, and Myers. So that's why he's like, does he drop Duvernay and grab Hill or keep Duvernay?
Right.
Looks like he's pretty thin at receiver right now.
I mean, Jacoby Myers totally owned the volume in that New England passing game. He had 92% routes run and 38% of the target share. That's just a ridiculous number. So, I get starting Jacoby Myers. You're trying to get through your bye weeks. So, again, I'm not thinking just about this 1 week, right? I'm also thinking about season long.
Well, so is he, but it's between does he roster Duvernay or Taysom Hill, basically.
No, I get it. I get it. That's where I was going. Is that I think Taysom Hill doesn't just offer you value this week, but he also has season-long value where I would be concerned about Duvernay.
Yeah, Duvernay's only catching balls until Bateman's back, which I'm not sure when that is, but let's see. Millie, what's up?
And here's just one last point on Duvernay. I'm just going to say this one more time. Duvernay is not the number one receiving option on this offense.
Millie wants to know your thoughts. I traded Hunt and Rondell Moore for Monty and Myers. Did I win or lose?
Oh,
We just talked about Myers, who I like a lot.
I like Rondell Moore a lot.
I like Rondell Moore, yeah. So I like Hunt more than Monty too, I think, over the season.
You like Hunt over Monty?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I do. It's close. They're pretty similar, I think.
Yeah, I think I'd probably rank it the other way, but I do like Rondell Moore. He's actually on my buy column this list. I mean, he's in my buy.
Yeah, it's a beautiful segue. Actually, we can go ahead and pull
him. We'll talk about that, and then
we'll
get back to the question about the trade. Let me just talk about Rondell Moore a little bit. And again, I just talked about Jacoby Myers, 38% of the target share. That's who he's talking about, right? Jacoby Myers.
Yep.
So, you got a guy who really that's a beyond elite target share. I don't know that it continues every week. That's my only concern. But I don't hate the trade. I like Rondell Moore. He's on my buy column this week. This is a guy who he's had a 19% target share over the past 2 weeks. and he just seems to have a special connection with Kyler Murray. So it's the Marquise Brown, Rondell Moore show. Of course, we have D-Hop coming in, and that's going to be difficult to project exactly what his role looks like once D-Hop comes back to the starting lineup. So I think based on that, I do think you probably win it. But I like Rondell Moore an awful lot. I've got him on my buy column. You just sold him. But I think you got pretty good, decent value at least. A starting running back who once again emerged as the RB1 in Chicago, and Jacoby Myers, where if he keeps up anything even close to that, he's going to be a great pickup for you.
Yeah, I do think it's fair. I'd probably lean the Hunt Moore side myself.
That's the Nick Chubb. That's the Nick Chubb show in Cleveland. You got Deshaun Watson coming back to week 13. So I'm not just thinking here over the next 2 to 3 weeks, but rest of season.
Yeah,
I get it. I get the trade, and I don't think you did a bad thing there.
Another scenario for Jorge. Guy wants Brady, Patterson. He has Brown, Pollard, Singletary, Pitts, Hopkins. Who should I ask for? Might add Drake London. Add Drake London and get Brown. He has Josh Allen, so Brady's expendable. We can establish that with him last night. I'd put London in there.
AJ Brown to buy low. He's on the list for tonight. We can actually. That's a good segue to AJ.
Yep. Keep bringing up people on the list, everybody. This is working out pretty nice. I'm going to be honest with you.
AJ Brown is a bona fide stud.
Yo.
This guy's an elite receiver. He's a wide receiver 1. I don't care what the stat line looks like at the end of the day. Even in week 5, he still had 80% of the target share. Prior to that, he had been averaging between 26 to 30% of the target share in that offense. Lots of times this stuff has to do with game script, but if you can buy AJ Brown low, buy him low. That's a guy you should be targeting.
Yep.
And just real quick, I just want to go back just 1 second just to wrap up this thing with Montgomery, because the last question was specific to David Montgomery. 72% of the snap share, 67% of the rushing attempts. He had 63% routes run with 20% targets. That's really elite volume for a running back. So, you went from Hunt, who probably, what category would you put Hunt in? If you were kind of rating him as a receiver, I'd say probably an RB3, right? Montgomery's definitely in that mid to high RB2 range with that type of volume.
Yeah, I'd probably put Hunt mid to low RB2.
Eesh.
I
think that's a little bit of a stretch for me, but I get it.
All right. Vincent says, ETN on waivers. Should I pick him up and drop Darrell Henderson?
Well, that I would do.
I would do that.
Yeah, that I would do.
Yeah.
100%.
Those Rams running backs. Whoa.
And look, I'm not saying ETN's not going to have value. Just because he's on the sell list doesn't mean, get rid of the guy.
Yeah.
We're looking for opportunities, and when is the best opportunity to buy and sell players. But if the guy's on waivers, grab him.
Yeah. Jorge wants to know Rodgers or Geno rest of the season. I'm going Geno. Screw it.
I'm going Geno.
Go Geno.
I'm going Geno. Yeah. I'm looking it up right now as we're kind of as we're talking about him, just to see where we're at now with with Geno Smith and Rodgers. Geno Smith right now on the season by this quarterback number 7. Take a guess where Rodgers is. Top 12?
No, he's like
top 15? No.
15 to 20 range, I would guess.
He's number 19 on the list.
Jeez.
And it's a team that wants to run the football. Rodgers is struggling. The offense seems out of sync. Geno Smith is, my goodness. I don't know if you were here when we started the podcast and when I talked about Geno. Seattle offense, average yards per play for first and second down, number 1 in the league. Just let that sink in. Number one in the league. I mean, they have, and it's not even close with them in Buffalo. Buffalo's number 2. Yeah, I'm buying Geno.
Let's see, Daniel. I got both Boone and Murray on my bench with Judy, Juju, Pollard. Just grabbed P-Ryan, maybe P-Ryan probably is what he meant there. Should I drop either or maybe both Denver running backs for some better stashes? That's hard to know without honestly seeing your waivers.
Who are both Denver running backs? Are you talking about Boone and Gordon?
Boone and Murray. Latavius Murray.
Oh. Yeah.
It's going to be hard to guess which of those two is going to be getting carries. But maybe give it a week or two and see which one shakes out. See if one shakes out or if they split everything, you know. But without seeing your waivers, it's hard to say who to stash.
I think
we could literally list 100 names probably.
That offense is – put that back up a second real quick, Kyle. Because that offense is going to be a little bit of an issue, Daniel. And you're discounting Gordon also. You know, they seem to be struggling. Hackett cannot seem to get them in rhythm. I'm concerned on the offense as a whole in general and not really sure that I want even one of those running backs. If Gordon is replaced or Gordon gets injured, there's probably going to be more of a committee approach. I think between those two guys, I prefer to have Boone over Murray. But I mean, I just grab Perrine, but should I drop either or both for Denver for some better stat? Depends who those better stashes are. We're going to cover them, man. This is another segue. You know, one guy that you can really stash. There are two guys on the list, actually, both on my whole column for tonight, Daniel. Two stashes I like a ton. One of them is Rachaad White, and the other one is Jaylen Warren. Rachaad White, continue to hold this guy, continue to stash this player. He has RB1 upside if anything happens to Lenny. This is the type of guy, Daniel, who will be has the potential for that RB1 type fantasy stat line. He's already getting touches. Lenny does have a little bit of a checkered injury history with that hamstring. And this is an offense that has all the pieces. They're like the opposite of Russell Wilson in that Denver offense. They have all the pieces in place. They're in sync. They want this. They're committed to running the football. They play strong defense. Rachaad White, to me, is a guy who can very, very easily be a starting running back in any roster if anything should happen to Lenny. And Jaylen Warren. Tomlin's already saying that he wants to get this guy involved. Najee is struggling. We know he's got the foot injury. His efficiency is rock bottom. You got to think that there's something else going on with him health-wise. He is a definite stash for me. So those are two guys that I personally would prefer to have over any of those Denver players. The only guy in Denver I think who has any value for me that gives you some potential is Gordon. They trust him. I think he's the most talented running back on the roster. He just got to be able to eliminate those fumbles. But that whole situation is going to be a bit of a nightmare. If you're stashing players, you want to stash players who really give you the potential to kind of be an RB1 type player. You know, if you're stashing guys at the running back position. And Rachaad White and Jaylen Warren both kind of carry that type of potential with them. Anybody you can think of, Kyle?
No, I think that's sufficient. Let's move on here. We're getting way behind in the chat.
That's Kyle's cue that I need to speed things up and stop talking.
Yeah, I was trying to be diplomatic there. Overall thoughts on this trade request I sent, giving Murray, Kittle, London, Boyd for Waddle and Lamb. Think it's fair, or should I target one player?
Who's Murray?
Kyler, I'm sure.
Can you afford to lose the quarterback? If the guy needs a quarterback and
let's assume he can afford to, since he offered the quarterback, let's assume he can afford to.
Okay, that's fine. Fair enough. I think it's fair if the guy needs a quarterback.
Yeah, if he needs a quarterback, it's fair.
You know, and Waddle is one of those buy low guys for me. So
I love getting Waddle and Lamb for that price. If you've got another QB to take Murray's spot for sure. Let's see. Okay. Cockpit, best team in my league offered me their 2023 first. I almost read that completely wrong for Hollywood. I have D-Hop, who's back next week. We're both competing teams, and Hollywood is only a starter for me while I wait for D-Hop. Thomas, and Keenan Allen he followed up with later. So he's got 3 injured guys or 2 injured guys and a suspended guy he's waiting on. He's using Brown for. Should he take that first for Hollywood, I guess is the question.
Yeah, so is this a dynasty league?
It must be if he's specifying what year first, I would assume so.
If it's a dynasty league, there's no way I'm moving Marquise Brown.
Yeah, I agree. I'm holding Brown. I would trade D-Hop instead.
D-Hop you can move. Here's the thing, Cockpit. Marquise Brown, he's a wide receiver 1 in this offense. He's a young guy. Kyler Murray's a young guy. None of them is going anywhere. They just added him in the offseason. They've got great chemistry. There is absolutely no way in the world that I would move Hollywood for a 23 first, where you don't know who you're going to get or where that pick's going to be. Who knows what D-Hop's going to do when he comes back. And who's this? Michael Thomas is the other receiver?
Thomas and Keenan Allen, yeah.
Yeah, Olave owns that passing game. He's emerging. Kamara's back now healthy. Keenan Allen can't stay healthy. I personally would not move Hollywood.
Trade one of them old hurt guys.
Especially not for a 23 first.
Yeah, I'd be looking to move those old suspended hurt people guys.
Hollywood is a cornerstone type piece for me.
Yeah. Vincent, 10-man standard. Should I start Stafford or dropping for Trevor Lawrence? I have Carr and he's on a bye. I'm okay dropping him for Trevor Lawrence at this point.
You like that?
I could get on board with it, yeah.
Okay.
I don't see any signs of Stafford really turning things around.
Yeah.
That offense just looks rough.
Yeah, what I'm probably doing, Vincent, is I don't disagree with Kyle. Since you have Carr, what I personally am doing is I'm looking at strength of schedule, and I'm trying to see whose schedule matches up better with Carr. You got to think that at some point Stafford's going to turn things around there in LA. At least I'm thinking he is. So look at matchups. Now Jacksonville does have a very favorable rest of season schedule. So I don't hate that. I don't hate that move.
Oh, yeah, Cockpit clarified. He was asking if she should be selling high on Brown. No.
I wouldn't be selling them. Why are you selling if it's a
sell at all?
Hey Cockpit, can you just clarify what type of league it is? Is it dynasty? Is it a keeper league?
Oh, I'm gonna have to scroll through 30 messages to find that.
Sorry.
I can do it, but then I'm gonna have to come back and find my spot. So
I wouldn't be selling Marquise.
We'll try to catch up.
Hollywood on the season is averaging around 28% target share in that offense, and I don't think that's going to change. He's also dominating the air yards and the routes run. I mean, every single statistical category in that passing offense, Marquise Brown is dominating.
Daniel says Moore's available in his league, could help replace Juju or Judy. I don't think I would drop either one of them for Moore, but if you got somebody you can drop, snag them up.
Who's Moore? DJ Moore?
I'm assuming Rondell Moore, since we were talking about Rondell Moore.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, man. So this chat thing's been glitching lately, and when we get to a certain point, it's done it to Corey a couple times, it'll all of a sudden redo, like it'll add a redo of all the messages from the first half again. So that's super annoying. So I'm going to come down here and try to find where we're actually at real quick. Bear with me. Here's one. Might pick up Foreman for a handcuff to CMC. I don't hate that move.
I don't hate that move. I would definitely consider
That's the
doing
correct handcuff to get, too. It's not Chuba Hubbard. Waivers to replace Duvernay. Wait, is London on waivers?
London if he's available, right?
If London's on waivers, absolutely grab him, yeah.
It's hard to believe that a guy like that would be on waivers.
Yeah, it is. I wonder if he means somebody else and I'm not catching it.
There's other London I know of. London, real quick, London
can't
is
think of another
averaging
London.
over 30% of the target share in that offense. London, you get him on your roster. Don't let that guy sit on free agency.
Okay, okay. I've found where we're at finally. His top options for dropping Boone and Murray are Warren, Foreman, or Rondell Moore. So basically, a couple of guys we talked about here. Benches Judy, Pollard, DJ Moore, Juju, Murray, Hill, Lazard, Alec Pierce. I'd drop both of those guys and grab Warren and Moore, or Foreman and Moore.
Yeah, I would get Foreman and Moore.
Yeah, grab Foreman and Moore. Drop Boone and Murray.
And just to be clear on Jaylen Warren too, that offense is going to be trouble all season. Their offensive line is bottom of the barrel, let's say, and they're struggling to find their identity. I don't know that running game is going to get established this year, so I think that's definitely the route to go.
Cockpit did clarify 10-team dynasty.
Cockpit, do not move Hollywood.
Big Dave, what's up, my dude?
What's up, Big Dave?
Here we go. Big Dave, PPR, Hurst, Everett, or Irv Smith Jr. If you're asking on the season, it's Everett. But let's see. Hurst plays New Orleans. In fact, I think weekly it's this week it's going to be Everett as well. Who does? Oh, Denver. It's not Irv Smith. He's too hit or miss. Hurst has been picking things up lately, but I still got to stick with Everett there.
I don't disagree.
Oh yeah, he said just this week. He has Waller on a bye. So,
well, here's one thing I'll just throw out there real quick is just keep an eye on T. Higgins. If T. Higgins is trending towards missing this week, then I'm probably playing Hayden Hurst.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
I think that's what's going to very quickly help you make that decision. Is Everett? If Higgins is out, it's got to be Hurst.
Yep, completely agree. All right, let's get to some more of these players.
We can get through the questions.
We are through them. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
I thought we were further behind because it doubled them up on me. It screwed me over. We still, we're at an hour, so we need to get through the rest of these players real quick anyway. So, Tony, pick a side. Dante Higbee, Edmonds, or Algier Godwin. Oh, this is a trade me and Corey did with him in a league. That's why he asked for you specifically.
I got you. Well, the one side has that tight end where the Algier side doesn't. The guy, as I'm looking at this trade, the guy that just really jumps out at me is Godwin, because Godwin is guy's getting healthy, and the dude is just a wide receiver one in that Tampa Bay offense. So Algier has some decent upside, not necessarily crazy about him. So for me, it's kind of like the Dante Higbee for Godwin, and it just depends on where your needs are. We're talking about Chase Edmonds.
Yeah.
Higbee is nice, but I think for me, Higbee is he's a guy. He's actually on my sell list for tonight. So kind of be a segue into the Higbee talk. I just don't think he keeps up this type of route participation in this offense.
I guess you already said he's on your cell. I can go ahead and put him there.
He is on my sell list. He's been like around that 20, been averaging in that 20 to 25% target share. Probably right now, maybe a lower end, maybe lower end to mid tight end one. But once Van Jefferson gets healthy, I'm telling you, this guy's role is going to change. I would keep saying Rams run a 3-receiver offense. Higbee has been functioning as that 3 receiver. Van Jefferson comes back, that knocks Higbee. And although Deontay's getting the volume, I just don't think I would want him over a guy like Godwin. So I'm gonna pick that Godwin side.
All right, me and Corey are the ones that got Algier and Godwin.
Yeah.
And then he says, to be fair, he does have Mostert and Waller is hurt, or he's on a bye, or both.
Right. So he got Higbee.
So he got Higbee because he needed a tight end.
Yeah.
And he got Edmonds to pair up with Mostert. And
right.
we got to upgrade Deontay to Godwin. So
right.
It worked out, filling team needs and everything.
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons to both sides. Algier is going to have value in that offense until Patterson comes back, and I think he loses that starting job, or at least his value is going to take a big hit. So, but Godwin to me is the piece. That's the guy that I would want.
All right, Vincent, 10-man standard scoring. You don't see a lot of those anymore. Flex, Jacoby Myers, Higgins, London, Robinson, Pollard. I'm assuming that's James Robinson, and if so, that has to be your start in the standard scoring. Right?
I would agree. Yeah. Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. I do like London, but it's not PPR, so so I like it. I like your call.
All right. Problems I have since cleaning house. 5 wide receivers, 4 running backs. Who to start? Swift and Hopkins coming back next week. I'm stacking up CEH. Jones, Swift, Walker, wide receiver. Hill, Hopkins, Myers, Cooper, and picking up London. Thanks. So that's awesome. I thought there was going to be a question at the end of that. But that looks pretty good to me. How do we feel about Freiermuth rest of season?
Oh.
That's a question I've been asking myself lately, actually.
You've been asking yourself that question?
I've got him in several leagues, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not freaking out with the Pickett swap.
Yeah.
It is unfortunate he got hurt this last week, but it's just a concussion.
Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about Freiermuth in this offense. Especially with the change at quarterback. I know you're not, but Freiermuth seemed to be heavily involved through the first few weeks. Now with the change in Pickett, I'm not really sure what to expect. There is a connection with Pickens. Deontay is owning the target share. So Freiermuth is now in the concussion protocol.
Maybe he gets lucky and gets a goal line catch every week.
Daniel, if you want me to kind of put him like a number on him, I probably have him where he belongs, like a low end tight end one, 10, 11, 12 range if you're ranking, which and that's pretty much where you're going to see him, I think, no matter where you look.
Yeah. All right.
But real quick, Daniel, here's the thing that I want, and this is why I think I dropped Freiermuth to get Taysom. Because the ceiling for Freiermuth is so low. That's my issue with him rest of season. You got to have guys look at, and of course there's only one Kelsey, but you want to have guys that give you a big ceiling, high floor, high ceiling, and just Freiermuth is not that guy.
All right, let's hit the last tight end on the list, Kyle Pitts.
Where do you think we should put him?
Well, I'll tell you, he's not where he has been. I know that. Him and Kittle surprised me a bit tonight. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. I'm going to let you pick the spot, and then I'm going to either
well, that's not fair because I already know where you put him. So
It's a buy low for Pitts. Guys are dropping him. So I've seen him dropped, in leagues now, especially coming off that injury. If you can buy Pitts, get him cheap.
Yeah.
Buy Pitts. Give it a couple of weeks, and let's see what happens in this offense. He was getting early in the season. He was getting a very, very strong target share. He did have the routes run. He just wasn't doing a whole lot with it. But if you can buy him, I would buy him cheap. Cheap.
Very cheap.
So buy him low.
Borderline free.
Borderline free. In some cases, he might be free.
Okay. This guy's been in a lot of questions tonight. Waddle.
Yeah, I mean, Waddle's an absolute buy. This is the time to buy guys that can really deliver for you rest of the season. Let's assume that Tua comes back. Let's assume that Tua comes back in 3 weeks. Waddle's going to pick right up where he left off. I got to believe that Teddy Bridgewater will be back next week if Tua isn't. And I do like the upside of the receivers a whole lot more with Bridgewater over the Skylar Thompson kid, mostly because I don't know Skylar Thompson.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him.
But Waddle is an absolute buy low. He finished the past 2 weeks wide receiver 61, wide receiver 70. A lot of that had to do, of course, with the injury. Buy low on Waddle. And while we're talking about buy low guys, let's just kind of round this out real quick if you want, Kyle. And another buy low candidate at the receiver position is Mr. Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk bottomed out this past week, just 7% of the target share. He had really been dominating somewhere in the upper 20s, 28%, 29%, even 30% target share. Week 4, he had 41%. He is a true number one in this offense, and he isn't going anywhere. I'm not worried about Zay Jones. I'm not worried about Marvin Jones Jr. I know that Etienne got some of the looks in the passing game, the dump off passes. Christian Kirk for me is a buy low.
Yeah, I like Christian Kirk a lot. All right, what about Mike Evans?
Mike Evans to me is a sell. And a lot of that has to do with what I was just talking about with Godwin. Godwin is back healthy. This offense is getting healthy. Evans is not going to be the dominant receiver that he had the potential to be when Godwin was out. But Godwin back, Godwin is going to own this passing game. So what's crazy is this past week we saw Leonard Fournette was the number one receiver in that Tampa Bay offense.
Yeah, he was.
A lot of competition in there for touches in that passing game, but his upside decreases every week with the healthy Godwin. So he's going to kind of revert back to that boomer bust type guy. And Evans, historically has been fantasy wise, has been kind of very touchdown dependent. So very much boomer bust for me. I'm selling Evans.
Speaking of touchdown dependent, we'll go to Zeke.
People are panicked on Zeke. What's going on with that? You're a Dallas guy. Why is everyone panicked on Zeke?
Because Pollard just passes the eye test, man. Pollard just looks more explosive with the ball in his hand.
But here's the thing. No matter what you say, according to the Kyle eye test, Zeke owns the backfield.
I know. I'm just saying you asked why people are panicking, and I'm telling you that's why.
So Zeke he has the past 4 weeks, he's had 15 plus carries. He's I think we're just maybe waiting for that one breakout game. If you're going to sell Zeke, wait for the breakout game. Wait for him to deliver on that type of utilization. Once he has that breakout game, then you can think about selling him. But I'm not selling Zeke now. I'm holding Zeke.
Because that breakout game's not going to be this week against Philly either.
Well, whatever. Then we hold him for another week.
In the
meantime, he's probably he's kind of in that RB3. He's in that RB3 range, probably maybe in high end flex. So I'm not crazy about Zeke. I'm just not selling him until you can get real value for him.
Yeah. Speaking of Philly, what about Miles Sanders?
Yes, I'm not crazy about Sanders. I've got to kind of admit. I'm not a big Sanders guy.
Me
He
neither.
is getting the early down work, but the problem in this offense is we're never really sure who's going to get those goal line looks, including Hurts. So I'm concerned on the season with him. I'm selling Miles Sanders.
Yeah, I've never been big on Sanders either. He's been performing really well, but it feels like a mirage.
He's getting the involvement in that passing game, which is nice, and he is dominating the touches in on those rushing downs. The issue, like I said, really the goal line looks. It's hard to buy completely into Sanders because we're just never sure who's going to get those. Is it going to be Gainwell Scott? It's Jalen Hurts. It's just kind of a
Clusterfuck.
that's one way to call it. It's one thing to call it.
All right, and lastly, we got the rookie receiver, Alec Pierce.
Alec Pierce, for me, is a buy right now. It's kind of emerged. I mean, did you know a whole lot about Alec Pierce coming into the season? It seems like
I knew he had a great camp. I knew he was
Yeah.
having a really good camp, building chemistry with Matt Ryan and stuff.
Yeah.
But I hadn't seen him play until the season started.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But he's beginning to emerge in this offense. He actually, for the first week, he surpassed Michael Pittman in the target share. They both 18% week 4, week 5, Pittman 23%, Alec Pierce 26%. And this is only on 74% of routes run, meaning that he isn't running as many routes as Pittman, but he's getting more looks. So as his routes go up, if that percentage stays the same, he's going to be a very nice piece to add to your lineup. I'm not saying he's going to be a wide receiver 1, but he could be a very good wide receiver 2, flex type guy.
Yeah. It's going to be another one of those situations where you have two very good startable receivers on the same team. And that's as the league continues to shift more and more pass heavy, you have more and more receivers coming into the league pro ready, where you didn't used to take a few years and stuff. Like more and more teams are just so deep at receiver.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of gross. But all right, let's see. Let's pop this up here for everybody to see one last time while I did that, and then the stupid the little background thing. There we go. All right. Now you can see the whole board there. Our final board for the night. Now, let's get to these last couple of questions over here in the chat.
Shoot.
Jorge says, so ask for A.J. Brown and Geno for Brady, Drake, and Patterson. I'm good with that. Or should he also ask for Kyle Pitts added on there? Like, I'm good with or without Kyle Pitts. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I am too.
Vincent, 10-man PPR, have Ayuk. Should I drop him for Alec Pierce?
I would.
Yeah. I'm off of Ayuk with.
He's too inconsistent. He's a very boomer bust receiver, and he's a low end boomer bust receiver. Kind of just real quick, I mentioned Mike Evans as a boomer bust type guy historically, but at least he gives you a high ceiling. He's kind of like a high end boomer bust. Ayuk is a boomer bust, but he's a very low end boomer bust. Alec Pierce had some nice.
If Ayuk booms, he might get you double digit.
Exactly. Alec Pierce is coming on, and look, this guy can turn into a good wide receiver 3 for you in your lineup.
Yeah.
So the consistency is there.
Definitely. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Appreciate everybody hanging out, man. A lot of fun. Thanks for your questions. We'll be back tomorrow night with Boom Bust, which is always a blast. So
100%.
Bring your questions over there, and we will see you then. Have a good night.
Thanks, fellas. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Tony.